Guys, it's Kelly here, and I am back with another video for Wplus9. Today I'm going to be using the Rose Background Die, and I'm showing you that is all, but I actually ended up using Sending Hoping Wishing, and that banner is from the Bountiful Blooms die. So I've already pre-cut, just because I didn't want you to have to watch me punch out of the little pieces. So this is pre-cut, just white cardstock. And then what I'm doing is I'm holding it onto my watercolor paper because I have to tape down my watercolor paper and I don't want to cut a huge piece that I have to waste. So I'm trying to give myself a little outline of where I need to tape it off. And then also I am kind of using a really light pencil mark to outline where the flowers are going to be. I'm going to be doing some watercoloring using distress inks for the background of this card. I've seen a ton of people use white die cuts over like watercolor backgrounds. It's always super striking, and I really wanted to try it. I thought that this particular die cut would be perfect for it because it's super intricate and, you know, those beautiful roses. Huge floral fan here, so anything I can do to showcase those babies, I'm totally going to do it. I'm just putting down some clean, clear water using a wide, flat brush. And I'm not really concerned about those light pencil marks because I'm going to be putting so much distress ink on top of it. At the end of it, you won't even be able to see it. If that's something that you're concerned about, or maybe you're better at eyeballing it than I am, or maybe you don't want it that structured. That's okay too. Then you don't have to do that. So what I'm doing is I'm just picking up some of the pigment. It's going to go on pretty light at first because we're doing wet on wets. And this is just our base layer anyhow. So I'm a huge fan of bold color. We will be building up up these colors. We will not be going pastel today. So I'm just, you know, picking what I want. I used a lot of really bright colors that I thought would work well together. There was only one little adjustment I had to make, I guess. I picked the cracked pistachio because I thought it was a really pretty like mint color. It kind of got muddy when I put it down, and you'll see it. I tried it in 2 different areas, and I just really did not like the way that it looked. So I ended up ditching the cracked pistachio and then adding in blueprint sketch. So you'll see when that it's the reason I'm telling you is because the blueprint sketch I had to put down on my palette, aka the Ranger craft mat. I had to put it down off the camera so you won't actually be able to see it. And after each one of these colors, I am rinsing off my brush, picking up clean clear water so that the colors are true. I don't want them to be muddy brown, mixing them together. And then wherever I need to blot it off, if there's too much water on my paper, I just go ahead and suck that up. It does suck up some of the pigment, but like I said, this is our first layer, so I'm not really concerned about it. Here's that cracked pistachio I was telling you about, and the only part that it was really like a true to its color was in that top left-hand corner, and I just was not in love with it. So switched over to the peacock feathers, which is a little bit bolder, and it blends a little bit nicer. And I'm putting that where I think my leaves are going to be, or in this case of the die, they're not. It's suggested that they're leaves. It's the breaks in between the flowers. So this is peacock feathers, like I said, and then mermaid lagoon, which is still a teal, but a little bit more on the blue side. And then eventually I'm going to add in that blueprint sketch just for just a little bit of something else, some variation. And I really like these particular colors together. I like orange and pinks with teals. And the abandoned coral, while I'm not a quote-unquote red person, is really more of a peachy red. It doesn't have a true red undertone. So I kind of let that sit for a minute while I reloaded my palette, aka the Ranger craft mat. And then I'm just adding in a little bit of darker color. I'm not always putting the same color that I put down the first time, and I'm not always putting them like here I'm doing a little bit of a half moon kind of really super vague flower shape. Watercolor artist I am not, but it doesn't matter because with this technique you don't really have to be. Right now it just kind of looks like, you know, large circle blobs, but you'll see at the end of the card it really does showcase those flowers, and I was super happy with the way that it turned out. So just keep adding as much, or if you're into pastels, then you don't even have to do the step. You can do your base layer, and as long as you're happy with the way that they blend, then just dry it down or let it dry naturally and move on to whatever way you want to embellish it. I just like a bolder color, so that's what I did. And there isn't, there's some areas where it doesn't have as much moisture. It's not going to maybe blend out as well. You can add a little bit more water if you want more of a blend. It's okay to have some harder lines. It's all, in what your preference is. With watercolor, there really isn't a right or a wrong way, which I love. It's a super forgiving medium. There, I'm checking to see how it's going to look when I'm done. And I found that it was kind of stiff. So I'm going to take some W+9 shimmer spray, shake that up to get all the beautiful shimmer off the bottom, and then I added a few spritzes of that. And then I'm also going to first flick with my paintbrush some clean clear water, and that's just going to break up some of the color. Wherever that clean clear water lands, it will bloom out and push the pigment away from it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up each one of these individual distress ink colors. I'm going to be rinsing in between, and I'm going to be splattering those on as well. I wasn't super heavy-handed with it. I tried to keep the colors around the areas that I already had put that color down, if that makes sense, just to get them kind of blooming out a little bit more and to loosen up that design. The circles just felt really really rigid to me, and I wanted something that was a little more loose. So after I finally was happy with all of that, I went ahead and dried it down with my heat tool. Again, if you want to let it dry naturally, that's cool too. There's, I think some people believe that you get a better result if you dry it down naturally. Sometimes I feel like I do, and sometimes I think it doesn't matter. With this background, I thought it didn't matter. So here I've cut it down, and you see I have that die cut there, and I'm just going to use some Tombow Mono multi-glue. I know that they have, like, if you have a Xyron, or if you have like sticky, where you can turn it into a sticker, that this is one of those ones that would be an excellent one to use it with. I do have a Xyron, but it's very tiny, so that would not work for me. Doing the Tombow Mono multi-glue works fine. It doesn't bother me. I do this all the time with my stencils, so covering over something that's a little bit more intricate is not a bother to me, but it might be to you, so just figure out which way is going to work best for you. Here I have die cut the wishing out of some black cardstock, and then I switched to the Sending Hoping Wishing. That was that set there. I realized I hadn't shown it to you. I'm going to stamp this down on this banner that I also cut out of white cardstock, and then I just have a simple vellum circle. This is kind of just to give my sentiment embellishments a little bit of a platform that breaks away from that busier background. I wanted to add a little bit of detail to this banner, so I got my Copics out. I'm just using two colors, a C1 and a C3, and I apologize, I didn't even think to zoom in so that you could see up close and personal what I was doing. I'm just basically adding a little bit of shading. For the C3, I'm only going to add a line where it's the darkest, and then just blend that back out a little bit with my C1. I use W+9 dye ink to stamp my sediments, so I have to be a little careful about how far I go with my shading, because that is not a Copic-friendly ink. So here I'm just putting glue on my vellum circle where it's going to be hidden by the banner, so everything else will be loose except for that part. And then I'm going to pop the banner up with some Scotch foam adhesive. There is two parts to this banner. There's me getting my hand stuck on the wishing because I put glue on it beforehand. So anyway, there's two parts to this banner, and I thought that it would be cool to pop one part of it up and put one part of it down. So the main piece of it I popped up on foam tape, and then I'm going to use Tombow Mono multi-glue on the thinner piece, and then I'm just going to fit this in almost like you would a button into a buttonhole. I'm just going to slide it over it, slide it as far as it'll go to the right, and then slide it back to get it into place. Then I'm going to add the wishing right on top of that sentiment. I'm going to be sending this to a friend. We have a retreat coming, and she's not going to be able to make it, so I was just thinking of her. And I will be wishing she was there for sure. I will miss her. These are some clear sequins from Pretty Pink Posh, and that's just minimal embellishments. I didn't really feel like this card needed a whole lot because that background is so bold and eye-catching. One of the things that I do like to do when I'm using minimal embellishments is really making the sentiment pop. So I put down Clear Wink of Stella, and then I'm going to put glossy accents on top of that wishing. It's going to make it look like an epoxy sticker, but a super shimmery one, because when that glossy accents dries, it just brings out that glitter so much, and it's amazing. So that is the entire card. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will catch you guys next time. Bye!